Hello and welcome back to my channel. I have recently been watching a lot of booktube. I love books, if you can't tell by the bookshelves behind me, and one of the videos that I keep seeing is all of the books on my physical TBR. So this whole shelf right here behind me, those are all my books on my physical TBR that I've either purchased, are being borrowed to me by other people, and all of that. So I have those, and then I have a couple more that are mixed in on the shelf directly behind me. Otherwise, everything on this shelf over here that you can't quite see, I've actually read. So I've read, I would say, 80 to 90% of all the books in my collection. I love books and I would love to do a lot more book content. So I'm going to go through every book on my physical TBR, including the one that I'm currently reading, and I did go around my house and made sure I collected any books of mine that were just floating around. So let's get started with that. Okay, I've now pulled out all of my physical TBRs. As you can see, the shelf is empty. That is what that shelf is meant for. I'd love to get another one of these bookshelves that's like skinny to put here where I have these crates and do all of my either nonfiction and then physical TBR and like half and half. And then just kind of, rearrange my bookshelves, but that's a future me thing to do. So let's get started with all of my books. I'm going to start with the one I'm currently reading. I don't have the jacket on this right now, but it is Remarkably Bright Creatures. This is a book that I would say about 1/3 of the way through. My boyfriend's mom is the one who borrowed this to me. So I'm working on getting that done and hopefully getting it back to her soon. So far, I really like it. I just haven't gotten around to finishing it yet because I've had other priorities. And then the books that are next for me on my to be read list that I picked out are The Vanishing Half. This is a book that my mom read for her book club, and then she borrowed it to me. So I want to read this one next. It looks like it's going to be a fast read and it's really interesting. So that one was upstairs, floating around my house. And then the next one, I've also started this one, is an Agatha Christie book. This one is Sad Cypress. And I like, this one is like super thin. I brought this on vacation with me to read at the beach. I started it just a little bit, so that is also in my current reads. I'm gonna actually move these out of the way so I have a little bit more space. Then I think I'm going to go into some of my nonfiction ones that were on this shelf here. The first one is one that I've read part of and not the whole thing, so I want to go back and read the whole thing. It's called Me to We. This was a book that I was gifted in college by one of my supervisors. It's a book that he really enjoyed, and it's all about like shifting your mindset in a world full of material things. So I'm interested to actually go through and really read this one carefully. So there's that. These next books are all from my university's Go Big Read. So when I was, well, actually every year they do this, and I just haven't gotten around to reading all of these, but they're all books that I really am interested in reading and am passionate about reading. The first one is I Am Malala. This was the Go Big Read book in 2014. But I am so excited to read this book. I'm thinking August might be the month that I read it. I just have been really into needing some nonfiction lately. I like to mix it up when I read, and I usually mix in fiction, nonfiction. So I'm excited to read this one. I don't think it'll take me too long for a nonfiction. So there's that, but I have had that book since 2014. The next go big read that I have not read, let's see if I have these in order. It would be this one. This is Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson. I've heard so many good things about this book, and I'm excited to read that one. I'm trying to do these in like the order that I got them. The next one is Evicted, Poverty and Profit in the American City. This I've also, again, heard really great things about. And then the next one is The Death and Life of the Great Lakes by Dan Egan. Again, this one looks like it's going to be a pretty fast read for a nonfiction. So those are all my nonfiction from the bookshelf right behind me. I'm going to pause, put these away just so I don't have such a mess around me. Okay, now I'm just going to go through what was on this shelf just in the order that it was on there. There's no rhyme or reason to it. And the order that I bought the books or received them or whatever, there's no order to it. So we'll just go through them as I had them on there. The first one I have is The Dictionary Wars. I got this, as you can see, on sale at a like local bookstore. And it's all about creating a dictionary. So I just thought that was really interesting. Also, the texture of this book jacket is so nice. Oh, see if I can reach these as I don't know if that'll be the best way to do it. The next one is a book that has been on my like TBR list. I have a really long list of books I want to read, and I also saw it in that same bookstore that I got The Dictionary Wars at, is Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. And this looks like it's going to be so interesting. Again, the texture of this book cover feels so nice, and I'm really excited to get to that one eventually. The next book I have is The Kite Runner. I believe my mom picked this one up for me at a book swap so maybe for like 25 cents. Like, you bring some books and then all the books are 25 cents. I don't remember. It's been a while. So I think I might want to read this one, like a fiction book, and then read the I Am Malala nonfiction book like in the same month, but we will see, or like back to back. The next book, I can't tell you how long I've had this or where I got it. It might have been a free book I got from my library reading program when I was a kid, is The Mysterious Benedict Society and the Perilous Journey. So I know absolutely nothing about this, but I would like to read it. It looks like this one was published in 2008. So, and I got this when it just came out. So that's how long I've had this book. And the next one is Under the Lilacs by Louisa May Alcott. I think I inherited this book from my parents. So it's just a book that I've had and never read. Next is a book I got when I was a kid and never read. So we would go into Barnes & Noble maybe like once or twice a year, and I would get to pick out one book. And at the time I was really into fantasy books. And let's see, when was this published? Let's see, 2006. So probably around this time. So it's Stoneheart. It looks like it's part of a trilogy. Again, it's been probably 2006 is when I got this book. So I will get to it eventually. Another book is one that I got free for my library reading program when I was a kid. It's called Brand New Emily. So this is a children's book, or like a preteen book or whatever it's called now. So that one, I think when I pick it up, will be like a day read. Again, have had it forever. Okay, this next book is called The Zookeeper's Wife, a war story. This is one that my grandma had in her basement in a box of books that she was getting rid of, donating. So during 2020 when I couldn't go anywhere and we were visiting my grandma. I just picked some books out of that box because she's like, I'm getting rid of them anyway. So this was one that seemed interesting to me, and I just have never gotten around to reading it. In that same vein, again, same trip, grandma's basement, I have The Hour I First Believed. This one I think is around 800 pages. Yeah, just around 700 pages by Wally Lamb. Again, I'm pretty sure I picked this up because of how thick it was, and I knew I wasn't able to go and do things in 2020, so I've had this book on my shelf for a while. This next book I got for my birthday this year, A Fall of Marigolds by Susan Messner. I've read a lot of her books. I've actually read this book a couple of times. I borrowed it from the library, and this is one of my favorite books of all time. However, I have not read this physical copy of it, therefore it's on my physical TBR, and I can't wait to read it again. I highly recommend this author. All of her books are told in multiple perspectives, and there's a lot of like time hopping. This, I believe, was my first or second book I read by her, and one of my favorite authors. I love her writing style, and this book is just, it hits you and it stays with you, and those feelings are just like, it just stays with you. So I would highly recommend this book. One of my favorite books of all time. Definitely a 5-star book to me. The next book on my list is another one from my mom's book club. It's The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've seen this one on a lot of people's TBRs, so I'm excited to read it soon. I also try to read the books that people have borrowed to me first, and then any of the books that I've purchased myself, just so then I can give books back to their rightful owners, because I'm a person who loves my book collection, so I want everyone to have their books back. Again, the texture of the cover feels so nice. I am definitely a person that the texture of a book could make or break me purchasing it, so that's just an interesting fact. My next book is At the Water's Edge by Sarah Gruen. I picked this up at a used bookstore for $8, and I just have not read it yet because I bought a ton of books at the used bookstore in that haul. I think I've actually read a good majority of them, so I think this is one of my last ones from that specific purchasing journey. The next book on my list is Heartland After the Storm. This is a book that one of my students gave me. So this will be a day read because it's a children's book, but I'm excited to read that. The next 2 books are books off of my boyfriend's shelf that he was getting rid of that I thought were interesting. This one is called Would You Eat Your Cat? Key Ethical Conundrums and What They Tell You About Yourself. So I thought that was interesting enough that I wanted to read it. And then the next book is Plato and a Platypus Walk into a Bar, Understanding Philosophy Through Jokes. I love a good dad joke. I love a good pun. So I thought this one would be an interesting book to read as well. And I was kindly gifted that by my boyfriend because he was getting rid of those books. The next one in my stack is a book that my boyfriend's mom gave to me. She went to this giant book sale where every book is $1, and she picked this one up. It's called The True Love Bookshop. So I don't know anything about it, but it looks interesting. So I will definitely read that. The next one is another one from my mom's book club. It is State of Terror by Hillary Rodham Clinton and Louise Penny. Again, another book that is like towards the top of my TBR list, so I can get it back to my mom. So there's that. My next one, I actually don't know what this book is. So this is A Blind Date with a Book. I've purchased this probably 6 months ago, but I don't want to unwrap it until I've really like worked down my physical TBR. And I'm excited. This one says, "What happened to her roommate? Was it an accident?" So I don't know what this one is, and I'm excited to eventually find out once I get through a bunch of these. The next one is one that I purchased again at a used bookstore for $8. It's Hidden Figures. I love space and science, and so I really wanted to read this book. I've seen the movie when it came out, and like I would rather read the book than see a movie, so excited to read that. This next one, I'm going to take the little note off, is a book that I got for Christmas from my boyfriend's mom called They Both Die at the End. I'm actually really excited to read this one. It just sounds so interesting. So I'm going to stick the note back on because I love when people gift me books, and especially if they're books that they are really passionate about or interested in. It just makes me so happy when people share books that they love. The next one is another one from my mom's book club, I believe. Yeah. The Latecomer. Again, I know nothing about this book. It was from her book club, and usually she reads her books for her book club and then she passes them on to me so I can read them. And that's why I have such a stack of books from my mom that I need to return to her. The next one is a nonfiction book. It is The Fabric of the Cosmos by Brian Greene. I have read 4, 5 of his books. I can't remember how many he has, but I think I've read most of his books except for this one. They are on theoretical physics, and that's one of the things that I love to learn about. So I have that one, and his books are so easily digestible and easy to understand, and like it's almost like you're reading a lecture, and that's what I really enjoy about it. I believe he's a lecturer at Columbia University. The next one I picked up at a used bookstore again. So this one I also got at the used bookstore. I get a lot of my books from the used bookstore because I give myself a spending limit on books, and I can buy more books at a used bookstore than at a new bookstore. Is The Autobiography of Eleanor Roosevelt. This one just looked interesting to me, so I'm excited to read it. Next is a book I actually bought because it was on a class list. We had to like choose 5 young adult books to read. My group ended up picking a different one to read, but this one also looked interesting. It's called King and the Dragonflies. So this is not a young adult, but like a children, I guess could be young adult. I don't know what classification is between like children's and young adult. I can't think of it right now. So I think this one will be a really fast book to read. Yeah, it sounded really interesting. Yeah, excited to read that one, and that one I know will be a fast read. The next one is a book that I bought when I was buying a gift for somebody else, and it was buy one get one 50% off at Barnes & Noble, and my impulse shopper in me decided that I wanted to buy this book. It's 100 Other Girls by Iman Hariri. Oh, that's covered up. Kia, I think. I hope I pronounced that right, but it sounded really interesting. It's about a writer. Yeah, and so I picked this one up on a whim, and I'm excited to get to eventually. Like all the books that I have, that I physically have, I want to read. I just don't always have time, so I'm trying to prioritize reading the books I have before I purchase new ones. This next one is a classic, The Call of the Wild by Jack London. I picked this up for free at my school because they were giving away books, and I've never read this one, and I want to. Next one is another one from my mom. I don't know if she read this one for her book club, or I think she got this one on like the free, like the library was giving away old copies of books, you know how they cycle through, and she picked this one up. It's Educated by Tara Westover. I've heard and seen a lot about this book, and I am excited to read it. And then my next book I bought in college is a little bit heavy, and I think, oh, not my last one. I still have another stack over here. It's The Secret History of World War II, Spies, Codebreakers, and Covert Operations. I bought this in college to use it as a source for a project that I worked on, so I only read part of it, the part on the Enigma code, and I would like to read more of it. It is also a National Geographic book, and I believe this would be a really pretty coffee table book because that's my style. Okay, I gotta scoot my stacks over so I can get to my last stack of books. I have 4 left. This one is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I have read another one of her books. I forget what it's called. It's on my top shelf, so I can't see it right now. And this is one that my boyfriend's mom is borrowing to me. She gave me All the Bright Creatures and this one at the same time. So this is up there on books that I need to get through. And I've been seeing this around a lot recently. But I liked the other book that I read by her, and I'm excited to read that one. This next one, I don't know where I got this one. This one might be another one that I got from my boyfriend's mom, from the $1 book sale. I think that's what this one is from. Because I think she got me 2. I can't remember now. It's a Golden Girl by Ellen Hillenbrand. I think I've read another Ellen Hillenbrand book and liked it, so interested to read that. This next one is one that my sister read, and it's her book, and she just borrowed this to me last weekend, or the other weekend. It's The Spanish Love Deception. She really liked it, so she's borrowing me this book. So I think this one I'm gonna read pretty soon, because I know I'll see my sister in the next month, so I want to read it before I see her again so I can get back to her. And finally, I went to the bookstore yesterday, the used bookstore yesterday, and for $8.50, I got Traveling to Infinity, The True Story Behind the Theory of Everything by Jane Hawking. And so I'm excited to read this. As I stated before, I love science and especially physics, so I'm very interested to read that. And that is everything on my physical TBR. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time with probably some more book content.